Hello and welcome to Fresh Perspectives. My name is Gail, and my guest for today is not here at the studio with me because we are recording this episode on the first Saturday in April. And in the midst of this coronavirus situation that we are in. And so she has opted not to come into the studio today. And the name of my guest is Cara Seekings. And we're going to talk about something that'll help us mentally and emotionally and so forth get through this situation that the whole world is in right now. And that is Cara Seekings. Thank you for joining us on Skype today, Cara.
Hi, Gail. Gail and I, girlfriends that we are practicing social distancing.
Yes.
I'm home in Chautauqua County. Gail is in the studio. And this is a new situation for both Gail and I. So we ask you to be a little bit patient with us as we go along. We're going to talk today about sacred pauses. Gail, we know that we are in such a chaotic situation, and we're not alone.
Oops.
And that the world is either self or at home, not working, not doing your normal things. It doesn't feel like necessarily you're in it with anybody else. It may feel really distancing. And in addition to that, of course, most of us like to control things, Gail. And this is way beyond our normal world. We don't even understand these circumstances. Even as a nurse, I often feel helpless and distraught because I'm frantically trying to manage what is happening. But boy, do I hate this. I'm ineffective. Okay, that's all there is to it because here we are. We're caught right in the midst of all this. We're in life-altering changes. And anybody who doesn't have some fears about it, I'm a little curious as to what drugs they're on and whether they're sharing or not. This is so uncertain.
It really
I
is.
was thinking the other day I needed to put some gas in my vehicle, and I needed to go to the bank, and of course my bank has only ATM things going on, which is super. But I was planning to do this in one circular trip, stop at the drugstore, pick up meds at delivery, do this, do that, all in one trip because I wanted to minimize my exposure.
The amount of times you would be going out, right.
And people I would be exposed to. And I'm really pretty friendly, Gail, and I'm very likely to be, in Walmart and chat with someone or Big Lots or some other store. Not these days. I will turn my face away and say hello. But that's it, because I don't want to engage folks in conversation. I'm not terribly worried about me. I mean, I'm not, I'm going to make it or I'm not going to make it. You know my attitude about that. So, but still, we can't help but feel agitated about what is tomorrow. 2 weeks ago, I would have never predicted today.
No.
So we can't change what's going on out here. We can't. No matter, we can do some things, certainly. We can do some things like, frequent hand washing.
Oh, sure.
We can do some things like distancing, a bandana over face as far as nose and mouth, or a face mask if you have one. We can do those kinds of things. I remind people all the time, please, when you cough or sneeze, I know we teach our kids to do it into their elbow, but with the um, the virulentness of this virus, it's far better if you cover your nose and mouth with a tissue, sneeze or cough into it, and then discard the tissue.
Right, and then use hand sanitizer on your hands.
Right, and then do your hands, and that's far safer. But so we can do those physical things, and we can, minimize our excursions to here, there, and everywhere, and um, we can try to keep. Chautauqua County is really very blessed at this point. There are very few cases
Right,
here,
right,
and that's kind of miraculous in itself. But through all this, the one thing we have some control over, Gail, is that internal stuff.
right, right,
That's the piece that we need to bring some calm and centering to.
right.
You know, my sister Kay used to always say, in a crisis, we can all get in our horse and ride in four directions, and we'll all get nowhere at the same
Right,
time.
right.
But my suggestion is that we look at our lives and for a minute or two. Now I'm a participant in the sacred pause ritual, which I'll talk about a little bit in a few minutes, but to pause, to just pause and notice your inner experience at that moment. Now, a pause is nothing more than the stop of activity. You don't have to get in lotus. You don't have to have a yoga mat. You don't have to, none of that. Special shoes, no. Your bare feet or your slippers will be just fine. It's that moment when you fully engage your awareness. All of us have over the years seen an absolutely phenomenal sunset, one that takes your breath away. And in that very moment in time, Gail, you are so engaged. Every time I drive west at sunset, I complain because the sun is in my eyes. The sun is going down. But then there is that moment when it is just so glorious and so beautiful that if I weren't on the thruway when I was doing it, I'd pull over and enjoy it. It is that moment of absolute beauty. The other day on Facebook, I saw these three little puppies running, and they were little, very chubby little fur balls, and they were running along a curb on a sidewalk, and they kept pushing each other off. And it was like a Three Stooges routine. It was
Yeah.
hysterical. And in that moment, I was fully engaged in little fat fur balls knocking each other off. They were so precious. A pause is that time when we do not engage in a goal. We're always talking about outcomes and goals, and no matter our age, when we attain one, we like to set another one. Or, in my case, I get bored and I'm in trouble if I don't have goals and projects going on. A pause can occur without warning and without notice. So, I mean, something can, or you can choose to engage fully in any given moment. Sometimes it lasts for that instant. Sometimes it's for hours, and sometimes it might be for seasons or your life. Now, by nature, a pause is time limited, though. So, when we begin working on, I call it pause adherence,
Pause
just
adherence.
pause adherence, just meaning that when we decide that we will incorporate into our daily life, and right now, most of us are, I wouldn't tell you I'm well dressed or suitably groomed for, a fancy ball. Most of us are hanging out in more loungy kind of clothes, etc. We have time for a pause.
We do.
We do. We're being forced to pause. So to use that as something constructive, you might choose for a few hours during your day to take a few moments each hour on the hour for a pause. You may choose to begin and end an activity with a pause. I have found that to be a helpful one for me because it means I then have to focus on what I am going to do. You know, I'm a quilter and that kind of thing. So I have to take off my one hat and put on my other hat
Right.
so that I'm attuned to what I'm doing. I'm attending. And then you can pause again at the end. You don't have to assume any kind of posture. You can be sitting down, you can be standing, you can be lying down. Now, I find lying down with a pause often becomes what might be better known as a nap. But you can begin your life. I love this line, and this is a quote from Tara Brach, Brach, by the way, who's well known in the pause movement. For a few moments each day, or any time you feel stuck or disconnected, you can begin your life fresh in that moment. All it takes is that momentary pause. So when we're thinking about those pauses, now I talked momentarily about the 7 sacred pause movement. Now, this is observed in many religious organizations, but that doesn't make it religious. It makes it a spiritual practice. And since most of us are at least a little disconnected from whatever our normal spiritual practices are, if there is such a thing in today's society now, it's good to find some kind of spiritual connection, something that allows you to acknowledge your relationship with, of course, whatever you refer to as the larger being. Something that lets you acknowledge the beauty of nature around you. Something that brings you into momentary awareness, and I call it willful awakening. I choose to pay attention. So, structured in the sense of daily devotion, I find this works well for me, although I hate to admit to you how often I miss the first one. The dawning or awakening hour pause. Now, I like to have specific little things to say because then I don't perseverate on 15 other things that I think I should worry about or that I'm thinking about what I'm doing next. So by saying a little phrase, my dawn one or my morning awakening hour one is the morning sun touches my heart, filling me with joy and intention, and I am thankful. Nobody has to use that phrase, Gail. People should feel free to develop their own phrases for these timings. And usually, whether I'm up at the dawn awakening hour or not, I will say that little phrase, the morning sun touches my heart, filling me with joy and intention.
I
And
know,
I'm thankful.
I know that when I first wake up in the morning, you're not thinking of anything. When you first wake up, all you are is aware that you are awake.
Mm-hmm. And I like to acknowledge, I mean, I joke a lot about every day I'm on the correct side of the grass is a good day. But I'm really not joking. I mean, I am thankful for the ability to sit up, interact, no matter how limited it is, do those things that give me peace and joy and serenity. So I like to give thanks for that in the morning. And again, whatever words you choose are super. Now, at mid-morning, I call it, instead of a mid-morning snack, because heaven knows, a mid-morning snack is not something I really need. Yeah. I call the mid-morning hour, 10-ish, 9-ish, 10-ish, depending upon what time you get up, the blessing hour. And what I like to do in the blessing hour, I have a favorite part of the prayer of St. Francis. And
Oh.
that part is the part that says, where there is hatred, let me sow love.
Mm-hmm.
Where there is darkness, light.
Mm-hmm.
Where there is despair, hope. And where there is sadness, joy. If I can be helpful in any of those ways to anyone, then, people spend years, Gail. I'm always kind of amused by this. People spend so long looking for their mission, their purpose. This is our mission, our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. You and I chatting away. This is
Sure.
it. Getting through every day. We're living our purpose. Quit looking. You're here.
Be here
You know,
now. That's what
be here, be
that
present.
was what Ram Dass always said.
Be here now. Now, then there's the noon hour. Most of us by the noon hour could use a little re-energizing. Or they could use to get a drink. During the noon hour, I'd like you to do a little meditation, or I like to do a little meditation. I like to sit quietly and relax the tension in my body. Now, it could be emotional tension, it could be physical tension, it could be spiritual, it could be tension caused by a million things. But I literally will do a shakeout. I will shake out each muscle in my mind's eye, moving from my shoulders down to my feet, actually starting with my neck. I'll breathe slowly in and out, taking long, deep breaths. Now, while I'm breathing in, I focus on breathing in light. Energy, re-energize me, letting it fill me. And then as I breathe out on the outflow, I give up fear, tension, anything that blocks me in feeling okay. If I've had a particularly whiny day, which we all do sometimes, I'll try to finish by asking myself, how do I re-enter my day with an open heart? When I'm not open, when I'm not receptive, then everything seems like just more than you can possibly bear. I did a recording yesterday for a class that I teach. It took me 4 tries, Gail. Can you imagine it?
Oh, you?
Yes. I who have to be paid to shut up. 4 tries of an hour and a half recording. By the time I was done with it, I was like, grrr. And then came the mid-afternoon wisdom hour.
Oh, good.
Okay. One of my favorite prayers in the world was written by Julian of Norwich more than 800 years ago.
Wow.
Yep. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. I took a deep breath at mid-afternoon and gave myself a little wisdom by reciting Julian of Norwich's prayer. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Now, friends of mine who are pagans at the mid-afternoon wisdom hour say, and as it is, so it shall be, or as I motage, so shall it be. So this isn't about what your beliefs are. This is about acknowledging the fact you can give up worry and anxiety.
Exactly.
You can. In something I was reading just the other day, the statement was, be a warrior, not a worrier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, we know, Gail, that 50% of what we worry about doesn't ever
No,
happen.
no.
And the other 50%, we have absolutely no control
No.
over. And just in case we needed that proved to us, COVID-19 is here.
Right, right.
Just in case.
For those of
We
us
weren't
who haven't figured it out yet.
we weren't clear that we really, mighty dynamites that we are. This is beyond us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, then at evening tide, the twilight hour, okay? For me, this is a time of real renewal. Now, my youngest son says, for me, this is a time to swing by my feet and come awake. He's implying I'm a bat and that at twilight.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes. Um, Only if I'm really moody that day. Now, but you know what that twilight thing does for me? I look at it, I face absolute darkness. And we all do at twilight. But you know what, Gail? Every night at twilight, I know sun's going to rise today.
Mm-hmm.
Sun's going to rise tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Sun's going to rise the next
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me almost a feel of essential truth that if I look at the cycle of nature, nature is not going to let me down. While darkness may come at twilight, come morning, light will be here again. So for me, these little affirmations give me the opportunity to pause in the moment and don't let my mind wander, because I use planned ones. So, because otherwise, you know how it is when you sit down sometimes to work on self-healing, and all of this is part of healing. We forget that piece that in healing of self, we are looking for the connection of our soul to critical trust. We want to believe that eventually things are going to work out. It's going to be well. We will survive this. We will, we are people who are known for their ruggedness in survival. I mean, we haven't given it up and moved to Florida where there's no snow or, anything like that. So for me, those, and then the last one is the one at bedtime. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's bedtime and after midnight. I forgot. Again, I don't often see the after midnight one lately.
Yeah, really.
Bedtime is the great silence. This is that time that as you pause before sleep, I use it as a time, I call it giving over. I use it as a time to decide what things are actually my worries and what things aren't. And those things that aren't are things that I have no direct impact on. So, those I give over. I very clearly say at bedtime, I am at peace. I am forever enough. Take thine and leave mine. Whatever kind of spiritual belief you have, give it over. Give it over, because you can't change it. And those are the nights that you lay there forever and, of course, can't sleep because you've decided you have to solve all of the problems of the free world right now. So give it over. But again, whatever words you use, give it over. The other day, I bought a T-shirt, Gail. Now, I have never seen the movie Frozen, in all honesty.
Neither have
But,
I.
okay, well, but I had to have this T-shirt. It's a Frozen T-shirt, and it says, "Let it go."
Oh, I saw a T-shirt somewhere, not a Frozen T-shirt, but a T-shirt of a picture of the Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say the one word um, because I'm probably not allowed to on television, but it's a picture of the Buddha and it
Okay.
says, let that blank go.
I love it. I love
And
it.
I think you
Yes.
probably
Yes.
know what the word is.
Yes. Uh, I think I do also. Well, yeah, I had to buy that Let It Go t-shirt because I thought I talk with people on the phone. I communicate via Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. And so many people are so caught up in what is happening right now. Instead of saying, how might I help the situation? When you tell me you're making a trip to the liquor store for party supplies, I probably am a little taken back by that because I would prefer you. Now, I don't. The liquor is your business, but the party part becomes my business because you have gathered a group of people together
Which is
and you
usually
have
a good
risked.
thing.
Yes, but
Usually.
in
Just
this
not
right
at
now,
this
it's
point
not.
in history.
Right. When our children's children read the history books, they will be amazed that we all survived this and how well we did. But as I hear people making those kinds of plans, I think, okay, and where is your sense of um, leadership? Where is your sense of commitment in that people learn by what they see you do, whether they're children, adults, or whatever. If you model behavior, we know there's a better chance someone else will pick it up than if I just say to you, wash your hands, Gail. If they see me, if people see us like we are today, maintaining distance,
Right.
we're showing this is the thing to be doing right now. Um, we, in that great suffering that we seem to be doing, and we are. I don't discredit that, Gail, but we also have. I put a note out, for example, on Facebook saying that if your concern is the ability to give your kids breakfast, then please send me a private message. I'll. I'm fortunate enough, certainly, to be able to buy milk and cereal and leave it on your doorstep. Um, those are the kinds of things, though, Gail, I wish most of us would do more of with our neighbors. And how about that elderly person who lives up the street who, maybe has outlived most of their family? Maybe you could just give a little call and say, I'm going to go to the grocery store and can I drop a bag at your porch? Or, whatever. Those are the kinds we need to be looking out for those people who either through lack of resources or lack of access don't know how to access any of these services. There are a lot out there, but we have to help people find them.
Right, right.
And it isn't, we can't just depend upon our government agencies because we're trying to keep those employees safe at the same time.
Right.
So, reach out a hand to your neighbor if you know something, except keep the hand yourself and reach out a phone ear. Uh, be sure they're all right. See if they need anything. Sometimes just another voice.
Well, we're so
Uh,
fortunate to be living at a point in history where we can communicate with each other without seeing each other in person.
right, right. And all these various ways. And right now, the mail service is still running. If you someone you one of the nicest surprises to me is to get a card in the mail,
Oh, yeah.
even a
Oh,
postcard,
yeah.
because
Oh,
mostly
yeah.
people don't send much anymore in the way of cards and postcards. And so it's always a big thrill to me
It's a
when I
lot
get
of
one of
fun
these
to
mail.
get one, but it's a lot of fun to pick some out and mail them, to be the one who's mailing them
It
too.
is. It is. And so those are the kinds of things. Anyway, I skipped the last one because I said I hardly ever do it. After midnight, the night watch. This is the time when you've now driven yourself nuts with coulda, shoulda, woulda. You've now made yourself really uncomfortable. So now you can't sleep. So what I like you to do is to lay back with one hand on your belly and the other on your heart. Yep, exactly in those positions. Take some moments to breathe deeply in and deeply out. And what is in your head at this very moment is my pathway to peace. My pathway to peace. My pathway to peace. My pathway to peace. After you've done that about 6 times, Gail, you've bored yourself so that you are able, really, that's really, I kid about it, but that's really what happens. You've now distracted it from all the other blah, 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 blah that you've put into it. And you literally have given yourself a peaceful interlude in which to fall asleep.
You know,
When we do all that sorting out, I often will say to people, get up, get a teacup. Don't put any tea in it. Put the teacup beside your bed and empty your head out into it.
well, I'm in the process of reading a book written by a medium named Alison DuBois. Um, and she said when you're connecting with a loved one who is on the other side because they have passed, you can have them help you by holding a bucket and putting all your problems in the bucket that they are holding and let them take them away for you.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. I have become quite adept at asking myself the do I have direct impact question. Because if I don't, there's no sense in spending any more time on it. If I cannot directly affect the outcome, then I have to let go of it because I can't do anything. And sometimes, very honestly, Gail, also I will ask myself, should I affect the outcome? Because there are times when we would be better off
Letting that blank go?
letting, yes, letting the branches fall where they may. And,
Yeah.
I don't know how we ever became such a society. Probably, I like to speculate, probably it's from the earlier days when folks had so much to do all of the time, all of the time, all of the time, that they were critically responsible for their own survival. We're somewhat past that now with, with the industrial age and with food delivery and all of those kinds of things. So, I mean, I'm not out worrying about whether I can track down a deer today
No.
to put meat on the table for my family. So now, don't you think we've hit a point where instead we worry about, at least in my case, the most inane things, even though we know we can't change it? Even though, I hate it when I do coulda, shoulda, woulda. What difference does that make? You're past that.
It's too late. You can't change
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
So,
I know
oh,
in.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I know in. When I was watching a movie, it was a movie. It was a condensed. That was a condensed version of a 9-hour play called the Mahabharata. Maybe you've heard of it. And
I have.
there was a guy named Arjuna uh, who was addicted to gambling. And, he had like brothers and a mother and like that. And he'd been out gambling and won a woman, was what he won. And he
Whoa.
came home and he said to his mother, Mother, guess what I won? And she goes, Well, you're just going to have to share it with your brothers. And he goes, But mother, trying to explain, I can't share a person, and she goes, My words cannot be taken back. Once they're out of your mouth,
They're
they're there.
there.
It's
Yep.
been said, you can't take it back.
No, and I've really discovered over all these years that no matter how much apology you do for it, it doesn't negate it.
No,
It
no.
it may make things a little better, but it still leaves it laying there, like a large flopping tuna on the table. And I often think that there have been many times in my life that things would have been much different if I shushed and really had little or no influence on the situation anyway.
Right, right.
Um, and I think that's tough. I think that's tough. I think right now, this is the time. I said I didn't do my spring cleaning because I hadn't had time. Well, it's not looking good now either. Uh, there probably won't be enough time ever.
No, no,
Um,
no, no. I
but it is the time to, if you always have wanted to develop some kind of um, meditative practice,
this is a good time to do it right now since
it
so many
is.
people have
It's a
to stay
great
home.
time. If you're having trouble getting started, light a candle, keep your eyes open, watch the dancers in the flames. Um, it's a great time for that because that is something you can control. That is something I find that my mood is much better if I look at the yeses in my life than if I look at okay, is it always convenient for me to go to the ATM? Well, yes, it is. Pretty much. If I'm going to the bank, I can do the ATM just as easily. So is that really such a problem that my bank is only offering ATM services? No, it isn't. That's a yes. That absolutely, I have bank service. The last time I was in a grocery store, heavenly days, there was bathroom tissue. But,
Yeah, there hasn't been
you
every
know,
time, has there?
no, no.
Yeah.
My son posted a joke about that, saying that COVID-19 makes your nose run, nothing else. Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
but so I try to look at those yeses. Do I have secure shelter? Yes. You know, do I have food in my refrigerator? Yes. Instead of focusing on, oh darn, I feel like going to TJ Maxx and the darn store has a nerve to be closed. Now, if I'm going to focus that way, what am I going to be miserable?
You know,
Because everything is going to be. Go
I
ahead.
think I heard them say something on the radio that liquor stores were going to be considered essential, so they were going to stay open. That kind of
And they
that
are
kind of
open. Uh,
surprised me.
well, yeah, me too. But when we look at those yeses, Yes, your dinner group is canceled
Right. Oh, you
this
heard
month.
about that. Yes, yes. We're not going to be having a vegetarian society dinner in the month of April because that would be a large group of people meeting to eat together and they would be preparing food to share with each other. So,
So that is certainly an inconvenience and a no in your life. But the yes piece of it is you're perfectly comfortable at home to prepare vegetarian dishes
right,
for you and your husband and maintain your good health.
right, right.
So that makes it a yes. Just call me Pollyanna Gale. I'm the queen of turning things into the
Oh,
positive. But
sure.
because I think that how we view is how we feel.
Right, right.
And if I've made up my mind that my life is miserable, gee, I bet you my life is going to be just
It
miserable.
is. It is,
Because
yeah.
I've made that decision,
Right, yes.
Here, Lilydale is, I never know how to say this. Lilydale is at the moment closed,
Okay.
meaning our shops are closed. We have no programming at this point of the year anyway. Now, come summer, we're very hopeful that there'll be a summer program. I will say this to you, there will be a summer program, whether it be on site or online.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So is
I've been wondering that about the Chautauqua Institution also for this summer.
I'm sure they're making
People
plans.
probably won't be
Uh,
able to have yard sales.
there are so many things that will change, but if you keep your life, that's a yes.
Yes, it is. That's the most important
You know,
thing, is to keep yourself
if you keep
safe.
your life, and I know that it's like you say. I mean, I'm a shopping person. I love to shop. Yeah, you can let me wander through any of the stores uptown, and I can amuse myself for an hour and whatever. So I'm like having withdrawal, and internet shopping is not the same.
No, no.
I can't touch. I can't touch or
Right,
feel.
right.
Um, but I do have that access. You said earlier, this is modern time. We have so many things. Of course, I imagine if I were living in 1800, I'd be so busy doing survival things anyway that if I survived, I wouldn't have time to complain. But
Yeah,
I think we just,
they didn't have all of these malls and things back then that people like to go to.
no. You were lucky if the Sears catalog came. Well, even in
Yeah, I
1800, there
don't
wouldn't
even
have been a
know if they
Sears
had
catalog either.
that back then. People had to make
I
their
don't think
people
so.
had to make their own clothing. They might have even had to weave their own cloth to make it out of.
You know. So I mean, we live in a wonderful time. Unfortunately, that wonderful time also brings the advances of disease spread, etc. Because we're so much more mobile,
And people
etc.,
are
than we used to
traveling
be,
all the
and
time. Yeah.
but let alone that we have so much. We really do. I was looking around my house the other day, thinking, hmm, whenever did I accumulate all this? Because I have so much stuff. And then I thought maybe I should clean. And then I thought maybe I should not lose my mind over this and just keep moving forward. But I think we just I don't know, like everybody else, I hate disruption. I'm not fond of change. So this cut most of our knees off. But I find if we can just take those moments, Gail, to recognize the beauty of the world around us, I am so glad to see people out. I would like them to maintain social distance in the parks, but to sit in nature. Another friend of mine and I are planning a forest bathing session in June in Lilydale. And we'll give you more information on that when we come to the June part. But uh, because to get people reconnected, being a tree hugger is a good thing.
Well,
It's a good thing.
one thing that I really enjoy doing is going for walks in the woods. And since I live way out in the country surrounded by woods, I've been, every day that it hasn't rained, I've been out taking a walk in the woods for part of what I've been doing
Right.
each day. I guess,
Right.
and I've been noticing things like I noticed a couple days ago that colt's foot is up now, and that particular flower. I've noticed that the ramps, known by a lot of local people as leeks, they are coming up
Yep.
now, so we can enjoy eating them. There's so many things in nature that can actually feed us.
That are edible.
Right, right. And then there is, we live across our house is right across the road from a pond. So right at this time of the year, we can listen to the spring peepers. And that is very beautiful, very enjoyable. It's my favorite sound in the whole world. So just listening to those, I can become totally absorbed in that sound so that I'm not worrying about things.
That's great. That's great. Maybe you need to take pauses with the peepers.
I do, yes, yes. Yes,
You
I
know,
just love them. I love them.
well, of course, my advantage of living on Casadega Lake is that I get to see lots of lake things,
Right, right,
like the swans and
right,
the geese are back.
right.
And, I know people find them troublesome, but I don't know. I don't mind stopping for them when they're
Oh,
crossing the
no,
road because they
no.
seem to have a really organized system to do it. And I admire
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I
This is a
think
good
that's
time.
another important.
This is a good time to
Go ahead.
notice your pets. Pay attention to your pets too. They are totally oblivious to this problem. They have no idea what their
Right.
human families are going through at the moment. They're just going about enjoying their lives, without worrying about anything. They have no idea.
Yeah, I was laughing just this morning. I have a Bichon, quite a large Bichon Frise, and Abby is so used to the routine that when I'm in the bathroom getting dressed in the morning and when I reach for the lipstick tube, she knows that it's time to get her toothbrush. Now, her toothbrush is a greenie.
Oh,
Um,
a greeny treat?
okay. Well, it's like a treat thing. It looks like a little green
Oh,
toothbrush,
oh, okay.
and she brushes her teeth with it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, she chews it. It's kept her teeth beautiful.
Uh-huh.
But if I dare come around that kitchen door and not reach in the greenie
Mm-hmm.
container, she will block the door so that I can't leave.
Yeah, yeah.
She says it's toothbrush time,
They let you know if you're late getting around to doing something that you normally do
yeah,
every day at the very same time. Yeah.
she could care less what else is going on in the world.
Right.
The only thing I think she would like, it's unfortunate that groomers now are non-essential
Oh, yeah.
because she could use a shower with her favorite
Oh,
groomer.
yeah.
But it just amazes me the number of things that we find to be disheartened by in all this. Instead of the things we find to be heartened by, yes, the deaths are shocking
Right, right.
and tragic. I mean, there's no way to say anything else about that. And certainly our hearts go out to everybody who is both sick and suffering
Right.
or families who lost loved ones. But Gail, there's also so much beauty out here.
Right.
If I turn my head and look out my window, there's the grass is so green. Right now, I'm envious because my neighbors across the street get the sunshine first.
Oh,
So their crocuses are up and blossoming. My house blocks the sun from mine, so mine won't be up for another week or
oh
so.
yeah.
But I can see the beauty of their flowers. There's just so much.
And the daffodils are up
And
now.
oh, they are. And jonquils will be next. And
And
we're
bloodroot.
so tied. Yes. And
Bloodroot.
we're so tied in. We're so tied in like this right now with how our lives have been blown up. And they have been.
Hmm.
But it's time to begin to loosen this and reemerge.
Right.
Not from our homes, not from our self imposed isolations, but from all our negativity.
Right.
It's time to bring forth positive energy. I have an online prayer list, and we have many. We have about a little over 5,000 members, and right now we are praying for positive energy for all those who have a need or are ill. Period. We don't need to know names. We don't, because we just want to surround them in healing and positive energy. This is Mother Earth's healing. Have you noticed, any of the news reports about how much the emissions have gone down and how there are less people on the road, et cetera, et cetera? This is a new beginning for all of us. Fortunately, there was no Noah to call and have an ark built, although a few of those rainy days I began to wonder.
Yeah.
You know, this is a chance to pause and refresh and start life anew.
Right, right. Everything's probably going to be different from now on.
Yeah, normal that you and I have known for a few years doesn't exist in our world
It
anymore.
doesn't.
And the sooner we come to terms, we collectively come to terms with that and begin that first step forward, the easier it will be on all of us. Use your energy to move forward in a positive fashion. Use it as time for yourself. Most of us complain bitterly, particularly most of the women I know. I never get any time for myself. Well, here you go. Now, I realize many women are working on, have 3 or 4 or 5 kids at home and are doing this and are trying to work from home and are doing that. But carve out those pauses. Take yourself seriously, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Because this is our time to start again, I really believe.
Hmm.
And I believe we find that discipline in us, Gail. And we all know I'm the least disciplined person and I'm able to find my 7 pauses in a day.
Yeah. It's,
And I know we've got to be coming to the end of our time, too, even though I can't
we
see
have
the
three
clock
and a
there.
half minutes left.
Okay, all right. I didn't want to run us over. Uh, Gosh, it has been so difficult for so many people. I would ask that whether you meditate, pray, observe moments of silence, whatever you do, I would ask that you ask their suffering to be relieved and pray for their highest and best. Because that's what we are able to impact. We are able to change the energy that surrounds the world. we aren't able to change the fact that you and I are doing this online because we're maintaining social distance.
We sure are. I guess you could say we're trying to be good role models today.
We are. We're modeling the appropriate behavior, Gail, and we still had a good time with
Oh,
it.
we sure did.
It's doable, and if you get cancellations, Gail, call me at the last minute. We can always talk about something
Oh, okay. Okay,
while we're
I'll give
socially
you a
isolated.
call if more guests cancel. There's, a couple other people who have asked if we could do remote interviews, and there have been people the last 2 Saturdays before this. There were people that I was going to interview that canceled. One of them just because she thought it was a good idea, and the other one was going to have to drive from 3 hours away to be on.
Oh,
So
right.
in Pennsylvania. So we decided that would be a good idea, not to.
But now she can remote with you
Yeah,
now that Chris
we're
is
we're
all
we're
figured out.
thinking about doing that. She sort of tentatively rescheduled. So anyways, that's how that goes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, certainly from my house to yours, may you be safe, may you be well, and may you find inspiration
And
for joy in every day.
and the same to you, right back at you.
All right.
And to
See you soon.
yeah, okay. And to those of you in the viewing audience, try to do some things. Get some exercise. Get out in the woods. Enjoy your pets and enjoy the fact that they are not worrying about this. And I will see the rest of you on the next episode in a couple of weeks.